Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Meeting the intellectuals. In one more episode of Meeting the Intellectuals, it's the great pleasure to interact once more with the esteemed Professor Hamidullah Sahab. Engaging in conversation with such a great and learned scholar is always enriching, and we eagerly anticipate the insights and wisdom he will share with us today. But for the viewers who are first time viewers, I will recommend that they should go and watch the first episode of inaugural episode of the Meeting the Intellectuals, which we did with Professor Saab, so that they can get a comprehensive and detailed view of the work which Professor Saab has done in the field of academics. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Once again, we welcome Professor Saab. Professor Saab, this time we have got a very nagging, you can say, a topic of Imam Ahmad bin Hambal, his ideological difference with Mutazillas. This debate has been in many circles, in many academic circles, on which many scholars have written, they have debated, they have discussed all the things about it. But this thing actually somehow pinched my heart also, and I thought that these things should be discussed with you. The debate between Ahmad bin Hanbal, the background of it with Mutazillas, what were the causes. So I have prepared a set of questions for that. So inshallah, my first question regarding this is, what were the fundamental theological principles that differentiated Imam Ahmad bin Hanbal's view from those of Mutazillah? And how did these principles reflect the broader context of Islamic thought at that time?
Actually, Islam is a very simple creed in a sense. It does not need any philosophy or any theology or any such type of theory which can support its doctrines. It has its own proof system and its own logic.
And put in a very simple
way, because
even a layman can understand the basics of it.
Islam is a religion for the whole universe, and Prophet ﷺ is Rahmatul Alameen.
For the whole universe, for all humanity.
And the Quran is the book Hudal Nas for all people, and Allah is Rabbul Alameen. So in this way, Islam has to cater the needs of all the people, commoners as well as elite. But when we just enter into domain of philosophy, it becomes a selective few, or who we are just discussing or making discourses on very intricate and subtle problems like creation, like whether Quran is created or is uncreated, or about God's qualities and His Zat, and then about angels, about life hereafter, eschatological details. So far Ahmad bin Hanbal is concerned, he was a muhaddis, one of the great muhaddis of Islamic history, and very orthodox in a sense that he did not compromise with any philosophy or with any scholasticism. That's
which he thought is against the basic tenets.
And he had rejected already the people of the Kalam. And one of the roots of Ilmul Kalam is that the people of Hadith used to say Al Kalam fiha hakaza. And that became the root cause of the Ilmul Kalam, and why it was called as Ilmul Kalam, because the Muhaddisin were not talking about the matters which are beyond the comprehension of human beings. There they think that only Quran and Sunnah will decide. It is not human intellect which will decide about the matters related to Mutashabiyat, related to the essence of Allah, Zat of Allah, qualities of Allah, and angelic world. In the same way about eschatological details, akhirah, and in the same way about mizan, and about the punishment in the graveyard. So such matters which are from ghaib. So those matters are to be always accepted on the authority of the Prophet.
Definitely.
And based on the ordinances, that is nusus. And for the reason, Ibn Ahmad bin Hanbal was Imam of Hadith, so his view was of the Salaf. Salaf means ancestors who were believing Ma ana alayhi al-yawm wa ashabi. As Prophet ﷺ had said that my community will be divided into 73 sects. Jews were in 71 sects and Christians in 72, and my community will be divided into 73 sects. Then the Sahaba asked, what will be the way out? Which group will be salvaged? Yeah. He said, Ma ana alayhi al-yawm wa ashabi. Only those people will be salvaged and saved who are on the pattern, on the method on which I am this time and my companions. So it means, yeah, they used to go back to the 3 centuries.
To the original source.
Original. Khairul Quruni Karni, Summa Lajna Yalunam, Summa Lajna Yalunam. My century is the best, then the next, then the next.
Then the next.
So it means that we have to go back to the origin. Salaf means go back to the Salaf Salihin, who were on the pattern Prophet had left them. As has been said by some scholar, that if those people will come back, the Sahaba will come back to the times of Hassan Basri, they will think that these people are not Muslims. Hassan Basri says.
Then innovators.
Yeah, they are not. And we will think that they don't have anything with this world. They don't have any relation with this world in which we are living. Such was their condition, so far as piety is concerned. So in this way, Ahmad bin Hambal was following the same creed. So he could never accept any such thing which was innovation in his view. When the Mutazilites, they just wanted to float a theory that was considered to be that reason is the source of all recommendations for religious ordinances. And reason can never just be wrong. If there is some conflict between reason and revelation, we have to accept the reason, the rational interpretation. And there were 5 principles on which these Mutazilites, they developed their thought. And there's an interesting story about Mutazilites. For example, in the circle of Hassan Basri, many people were there. Now there is dispute about the opinion, whether it was Wasil bin Atta or it was Amr bin Ubaid. He asked a question. Where will be a person who has, who has committed a capital sin, whether he will be in the heaven or he will be in the hell. And Hassan Basri wanted to reply, but he did not listen it easily. And then Hassan Basri said, "Atazal ana." Atazal ana means that this man has separated himself from us. And our way. Because Hassan, Umar bin Ubaid or Wasil bin Atta said he will be in between the 2 stations of Iman and Kufr. Hassan Basri said, "Atazal ana." He has separated from our way. So this
can be the origin of the
Mutazilites. Atazala means to go away.
To go away. And to deviate from the original.
And Mutazila means those people who have gone away from the way of Salaf. That is the way of Hassan Basri. Hassan Basri was the epitome of Salaf during his time. Great Muhaddis, great Mufassir, and great Faqih of his time, and Sufi as well. Even Sufis relate themselves with Hassan Basri. And they say that it was from Hazrat Ali through Hassan Basri, then other chains are being derived. So in this way, then they adopted, there was Nizam and there was many other, Allah and others, many Mutazilites were there. Then they developed 5 principles. One principle was they were considered to be Ahlul Tawheed wal Adl. They believed that God is one and they denied in a sense the qualities of God. And because of that reason, this fitna of Khalqul Quran started. I will explain that later on. And second principle was they believed that Amar bil Ma'ruf Nahi anil Munkar we have to do. And then they also believe Al-Wa'd wal-Wa'id. And such type of principles they had developed. And then they just propagated those principles. And during the time of Mamun, this creed became the royal creed in a sense. And Mamun was coercing people, they had to accept this creed. And many people were persecuted and some were killed even also, if they were not subscribing to this belief of the Mutazilites. Because this was considered to be the royal creed, that they will issue the government program, that you have to accept this, whatever the 5 principles they have developed or they have framed, those are to be accepted by all. If anyone does not accept those principles, he was persecuted. And some of them were killed even, and they were jailed, they were imprisoned. One of the great scholars of Islam was Ahmad bin Hambal. He did not accept this, and he was just invited to the court. He was asked to tell us, what is your opinion about Khalqi Quran? So he said, you bring some argument from Quran and Sunnah, then I will say what you believe, that Quran is created or Quran is not created. But they were insisting. Then he was
just put your
view. And he was persecuted to the extent, flogging so many times repeatedly, and then put in the prison. And then he was made to just be given rounds in the city, whole city, on ass. And then a thief came to him, whose name was Abu Hassan. He said, "Oh, Ahmad bin Hambal, I have been just ridiculed like this hundreds of times, but I did not leave my theft, profession of theft. You are on truth, you are on haq. You should never leave." And then Ahmad bin Hambal used to say, "May Allah have mercy on Abu Hassan, who showed me the way of istiqamah, just to be steadfast on truth." So my point is that in this way he was persecuted consecutively by all the kings, like rulers like Mamun, and then Mu'tasim, and then Wasik. But later on, when Mutawakkil came, in 4 years during the Mutawakkil's time, the persecutions continued. But afterwards, he realized Mutawakkil, and he supported, the Salaf and the people who were of this orientation, who believed in the Aqidah of Salaf about Quran, and then the persecution ended.
It stopped.
Yeah. And he was the man who was really epitome of courage. He opposed the government and royal writ, and despite a lot of hardships and problems he was facing, because he believed that we have to follow the creed of the Prophet ﷺ and the Khulafa Rashidin and all the Sahaba, about which Prophet ﷺ had given all
these issues were never discussed in those times.
Never.
In the time of Prophet or after him in the time of Sahaba.
But there was reason why these issues were, because I have been teaching the subject for about 30 years. I have taught Ilm al-Kalam, Muslim philosophy, Ghazali, and so I have written also on those subjects. I know why these debates were going on there, because there were challenges from different religions. Actually, there were challenges from different religions, because many people were coming to the fold of Islam. They are coming with their baggage of belief system, doctrine, culture, and their own views. And
preoccupied opinions.
Yeah, opinions as well. And some of them were challenging the tenacity of Islamic tenets. For example, what is the rational basis of unity of being? That is Tawheed. How we can believe that there is God and there is His qualities. So you say that there is Tawheed. Tawheed means unity, but you are saying He has also many qualities. So how you can reconcile with this view that one and many? And they were calling it Ta'adudi Kuduma, coexistence of eternals. How, whether the qualities of God were coexisting with God from very beginning, or those were separate. So one of the quality of God is Kalam, that is speech, and Quran is the Kalamullah. So does it mean that Quran was existing with Allah from very beginning? So if it was existing from very beginning, it means there were two eternals,
Kalam as well as God. Allah.
So this was their, one of the objections. And now they needed arguments, rational arguments. They were not accepting theological arguments, because they were coming from different denominations.
Different background, different denominations.
And they had their own philosophical questions. But Islam just was always to, welcome questions and reply. And then Mutazilites, they replied those questions in rational way. And there were other questions also, whether man is free or he is determined. If he is free, then okay, he can just do any good thing. But if he is determined, how he is to be punished for his sins on which he has no control?
Because then it's already written in his page.
Or he was already, compelled to do this.
To do this act.
Or he was, it was in his fate that he has to commit these sins or these bad actions.
But Professor, these questions are even asked today, and people say they are very relevant questions.
I am just
one of the biologists, Julian Huxley, says that the only problem with the religion is that they believe in the theology of fixity. You don't have something which you can call that we are simply cutting out something, shunning out some things, and doing some rectifications.
You're right.
Rectification is not allowed in religion.
These questions are still relevant.
These questions are still relevant. So on this basis, in other words, it means that they too were putting their profound arguments before Ahmad bin Hambal or before other scholars. So sir, in this sense, then our second question goes like this: how did Imam Ahmad bin Hambal and Mutazillah each interpret the relationship between reason and revelation, and what implications did their differing views on the Islamic jurisprudence and theology?
Basically, when they just combated their opponents with the arguments, which were very strong arguments, rational arguments, Mutazilites were the great rationalists, no doubt in that. And they were also knowing Quran and Sunnah. They were not ignorant about Quran and Sunnah. But they wanted to defend Islam on the rational basis because people were attacking Islam with reason and such type of argumentations, where they were just challenging the basic tenets of Islam. So the Mutazilites tried to reply them by their own coin.
That's true reason and logic.
Yeah. And for example, about this problem, we can just talk about Sifat and Zat. So there are two views which we have. One is Allah, whose essence, that is Zat. Second is His Sifat. And we have to believe in both.
Attributes as well as God.
But sometimes what was the point which was just raised by the people who were not accepting the view of the Mutazilites was that they are considering God like man, like creation.
Like creation.
Yeah. As for example, we know that I am able to speak. I am a man. I have a speech. But God's speech, we don't know how He speaks.
It's actually beyond our comprehension.
And that point was later on just explained by Imam Malik, rahmatullah. So, for example, he says that there is Quranic verse, Ar-Rahman al-Arsh istawa. Rahman has settled on the throne. Merciful has settled on the throne. So, if anyone will ask us how Allah sits.
Yes. Does He sit like a human being?
And has He throne also? Has He
like
place?
A king?
Because according to Mutazilites, if we believe that God is settling on the throne, it means that He has a jat wal jism. He should have a body and he should have direction. And while, as you said, no, He has no body like that, as humans have, and anthropomorphists. So, Imam Malik said, Al-istiwa ma'loom, we know how to sit. Well, kayfiyatu majhulun, but how God sits, we don't know.
We don't know.
Well, iman bihi wajib, but to believe that God settles on throne,
it's essential.
It is iman.
It's iman.
And we have to believe. And if to ask a question about that is innovation. Point is that the matters of Allah are different from our matters. He is Allah. Nothing is like Allah. And He knows and He is also seeing. So in this way, we should not la tazribu lillahi al-amsal. Do not give examples about God. So you should not consider Allah like creations. He is a creator. And His Zat and His Sifat are known to Him only. As in Hadith has been said, Allahumma, O Allah, we are just qualifying You as You have qualified Yourself.
Exactly, yes.
Because Ghazali says, only Allah knows Allah and no one else knows Allah.
Know Allah.
So the point is, but when you are just using the human categories to understand the divine matters, so you create problems. That is category mistake. So this was the point of Ahmad bin Hambal, was that how we can understand. You say that Quran is the kalam of Allah and it has been in that sense coexisting with Allah if we believe that sifat of Allah are eternal.
Eternal.
And they are also existing with Allah.
Then they become two entities.
But Mutazilites were defining those qualities in a different way. They were saying qualities are manifestations of the Zat. Allah is knowing not because of His quality of knowledge, but because of His Zat. He is alim bil Zat, not alim bil ilm.
Exactly, yes.
He is rahim bil Zat, not rahim bil rahmah. So they were talking, because they were saying these are the manifestations. These are just the modes of His existence. So these are not, one with God's, essence. They are just different manifestations. For example, this is the problem with almost all the religions. For example, I will tell you, where from this Wahdatul Wujud has stemmed, which is also from the same area. That whether God has qualities or God's only essence. We have talked about that.
Exactly.
If God is only essence, then what about the creation? They believe that this creation is just a manifestation of God, tajalli of God, theophany of God. And in this way, there is no quality. For that reason, these Mutazillas were known as Mutazzillas, who have suspended the qualities of God. They are denying the qualities of God. They believe only in the existence of God, essence of God, Zat of God, not Sifat of God. And in this way, they are denying one of the important pillars of Islamic belief, that is to believe in His Zat as well as His Sifat. Then you become Muslim. But they interpret it in such a way, in the way they just made these, suspended, qualities suspended. And one of the qualities of God, as I mentioned, is kalam. So Mutazilites said that if Allah is having their quality of kalam, and which according to the belief of the Muslims is existing from very beginning, because quality and zat is existing, coexisting. Then they say it can be called as ta'adudi kudma, coexistence of the eternals.
Coexistence of the
And then
eternals.
it means when there is coexistence, how there is tawheed? There are two things, not one, or many things, not one. So this was their rational argument against the qualities of Allah, attributes of Allah, sifat of Allah. And one of the sifat was kalam. So it means that kalam was from very beginning with Allah existing. So they just asked this question. But then came the Asharites. And one of the great Asharites was Abul Hasan al-Ashari, who was defending Mutazillism for 40 years.
40 years.
He was the staunch supporter of Mutazillism. Staunch. But all of a sudden there was a great change in him. It is said that he saw Prophet ﷺ in a dream, and Prophet ﷺ was just showing his finger like this, telling him that what you are doing.
You are doing wrong.
And he got the message. Second thing, he said that there was a question was brought before his teacher, Abdullah Jubai. The question was about three hypothetical brothers. Three brothers. So one brother, when he was born, so he died. And he was asked that where will be that boy, that child? He said he will be in Araf. He will be neither in the hell nor a heaven, between these two.
In between these two states.
Second person, he was, he also became old. He became 40 years of age, but he was very pious. He was very nice. So where he will be? He will be in the paradise. Third person, he also grew and he became old, but he was very vicious. He was very bad in character and actions. Where he will be? In hell. Then the man who was put in hell, if he asks Allah, Allah, why you not made me to die as my
in the infancy stage.
Infancy stage, my brother died.
Yes.
So what type of injustice is this? What will be the rational argument for this? So there is no rational argument. So the matters which are related to the divine world are beyond comprehension sometimes of human mind. And from that point, he just stood on the pulpit of the masjid and he said, oh, people who know me, they know me. But the people who don't know me, I am Abul Hasan al-Ashari. I was Mutazilite for 40 years, but now I am repenting. And then he became the founder of the second school of thought known as Asharism. They said we can't make reason as the criterion of Sharia matters. Reason has to be always subservient to Sharia, because we have a higher measure for measuring things through revelation. Revelation is the judge, ultimate judge, which later on was highlighted by Imam Ghazali. There are four judges. One is Hakimi His, judge of sense perception. It can decide some matters, but not all. Then comes the Hakimi Aql. He is the judge of reason. It can decide some matters. But still there are many matters which we can't decide on the basis of reason. Then comes the Hakimi Wijdan, the judge of the intuition. It can also solve some problem, but not all. Then comes the Hakimi Wahy, that is revelation, and he is the ultimate judge. And because that is coming from Allah, which has no limitation. And to measure things, we need different scales. We can't measure everything with one scale. We can't measure,
just putting a rod there and trying to measure from
measure everything. And especially those matters which are related to life hereafter, which are unseen world, which are not sensory things. So in this way,
we can resolve some matters through reason and logic. But when it comes to Allah, Allah's will, then those things are beyond
Mutashabiyat, especially. For example, how is revelation? We can't understand revelation as such.
Exactly.
It was coming to the Prophet ﷺ. We have to believe in that.
We have to believe in that.
How Jibreel was coming. But Jibreel was coming. And he was bringing message from Allah. It was not internal, it was external.
Yes, then you can put so many questions. Why do we believe in Prophet? There are so many answers which can satisfy you that he was a true prophet.
Yeah.
And once you believe in him that he was a true prophet, then you have to put your reason and logic aside in certain matters.
There was a saying of the Sahaba, first we learned Iman, then we learned knowledge.
Knowledge, yes. That's
first comes Iman.
First comes Iman.
So, and then you become believer only.
Sir, actually I want to ask you one more question. What was the impact of these debates on the society those days and even on the theology itself?
Basically, all the people were just doing their work on very strong lines, very positive lines. Muhaddisin were busy in collecting hadith,
Hadith.
making commentaries, other things. And Mufassirin were just making Quranic studies prevalent. And then there were fuqaha, jurists. They were making laws and other things, interpreting them accordingly. And one group was Sufis. They were also doing their own work. And one group was these mutakallimin, these scholasts. But since the government was supporting Ilm al-Kalam and especially the Mutazilites, there was a lot of impact. And everyone was under the spell of government impact. For that reason, it was affecting each and every walk of life, this theory of Mutazilites. And it had a great impact. And then for that reason, Muhaddisin and the scholars of Islamic jurisprudence, they had to pronounce judgment against this, sometimes Ilm al-Kalam. So for example, Ibn Salah said, Man tatakallama tatazandaka. A person who is indulging in kalam, he is become zandiq, atheist.
Atheist.
Man tafalsafa tatazandaka. A person who is indulging in philosophy, he becomes zandiq. Because they were just deviating from the actual path which was set out for Muslims by Prophet ﷺ and their ancestors, Khulafai Rashidin, and also the pious ancestors, that is Salaf Salih.
Tabi'in,
Tabi'in. So it had a great impact, and for that reason there were scholars, they were opposing it to tell nail. And although some of them were silent, others were very vocal, like Ahmad bin Hambal. Ahmad bin Hambal, and he said this thing in the court of the Ma'mun and others, that you bring some argument from Quran and Sunnah, because these matters can't be discussed on the basis of criterion or whetstone of reason. There's major for these things is Sunnah and Quran. If you bring some Quranic verse, I will accept. If you don't bring, I will not accept.
We will discuss within the framework
of Quran and Sunnah. Because these are matters related to life hereafter, related to Ghaib, related to Allah, whom we only believe in, whom we don't know. So exactly, that was the reason.
That was the reason. Okay. How can the discussion and disagreement between Imam Ahmad bin Hambal and the Mutazillah inform contemporary debates with the Muslim community regarding faith, reason, interpretation of religious text?
Basically, all these debates, they were just going on, and these debates are still going on. For example, these are known as Dev Mutazilites. Sir Sidam Khan is one of them. And we have also Jamal Afghani and Muhammad Abduhu. And apart from him, even sometimes Iqbal is also very much influenced by them. Even Ismail Raji Farooqi. And this debate is going on.
Still going
on. And those people are also questioning some of these all beliefs. Even Sir Said has written Tafsir of the Quran. In that he has just talked like the Mutazilites. And then there's Fazlur Rahman. So he was in Chicago. He was a professor there, basically from Pakistan. So he has also talked like this about revelation, about Quran, about other things. Although there is some difference between the opinion of the earlier Mutazilites and later Moses, but this debate is still going on. But if you ask me as a student of Islamic studies and comparative religions and philosophy of Islam, I can tell you that there is tussle between two things, hadith and reason. Tussle in the sense, hadith is based on revelation. Reason is human reason based on sense perception. Whatever you see, you can talk only about that. But what you listen from the Prophet ﷺ, you speak on the basis of that. So either you have to accept the revelation or you have to accept the reason. If you accept reason, then you have to go to philosophy. Philosophy is not the basis of religion. Philosophy is a speculative subject. I have been a student of philosophy. I have studied Western philosophy in JNU and then Muslim philosophy in Aligarh. And I have taught this subject for so many years. But I have come to this conclusion. Philosophy is, a human endeavor. It is not based on some very, I should say, strong or very fathomable or formidable foundations. And we have many philosophers like Descartes, René Descartes. He says there is not even a single proportion on which all the philosophers agree. So, and as Eric Fromm has said, he says that one philosopher comes, he gives a theory. Then next philosopher comes, he takes one part of theory and develops another theory. And they meet nowhere. But prophets meet at each and every point. So this debate will continue. There is one group of people, they support reason to the extent when they can compromise with revelation. But the people who are the believers and who are deep in knowledge, Rasikhuna fil ilm, they believe that reason has limitations. And now, in the Western world also, they have realized the limitation of reason. There are two schools of thought in Western philosophy. One is rationalists, Descartes and others. They say there are innate ideas, which we already know. And through our experience of the things, we just define those things. Second is empiricists. They believe that we can only know that thing which we can see.
Which we can see.
Which we have image of. For example, we have two important philosophers. One is Locke, John Locke. Second is David Hume. And then Bertrand Russell. They believe that first we have sense perception. What is something that is sense perception? What exists in room is sense perception. No concrete thing is existing there. Because whatever is given to our senses, that is existing. For example, we don't know whether the sun is existing this time or not. Because it was existing 8 minutes before.
Exactly, yes.
So this is one school of thought. Second is rational. They say no. We have knowledge already embedded in our own nature and whatever it is. When some type of manifestation come and that becomes evident. Otherwise, it remains latent. So in this way, but Bertrand Russell has written some important books. He says that human knowledge limits and scope. Even human knowledge has limits. Our knowledge of external world.
It has limitations.
Limitations. Yes. And this point was highlighted by Immanuel Kant. He says that if we want to prove everything through the reason, theoretical reason, we can't. We need some practical reason. And he says that practical reason tells us you should believe in God. You should believe in immortality of soul. You should believe in freedom of will. But if you use, pure reason, you will not be able to say anything about that. But practical reason tells us you need, for morality, you need these beliefs. And he calls these postulates of morality. So in this way, we can say this debate is going on in the modern world also.
And secondly, now philosophy has been replaced by scientific theories. Yeah. And now people try to give primary role to science rather than to religion. But even there in science, you have got so many things. For example, the concept of fine-tuning, the anthropic principle, which simply gives us a direction towards the creator, that's towards the God. Even many physicists, including even Einstein, he also believed in one type of God. And so many physicists, they do believe in God. Because science and reason and philosophy, it has got limitations. And simply we cannot do the thing which is beyond our comprehension by simply arguing on certain things which can be refuted later on. Thank you very much, Professor Saab. Definitely we'll meet once again, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum.